Opinions expressed by talk show hosts or callers on KWRO do not necessarily represent the opinions of the staff and management of Bicoastal Media LLC, its sponsors, subsidiaries, or possibly anyone else on the planet. From high atop the historical hall building in beautiful downtown Coos Bay, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. And ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Good afternoon, Coos County. It's glad to be joining you again this week, another week for the Rob Taylor Report. And if you're looking for a little bit of political therapy, you tuned into the right place. I've been going around quite a few places this last couple of days, especially this past Saturday and Sunday, talking to people up in Washington State because their state is facing a huge gun grab by their state legislators. And just like Oregon, their counties, the majority of them are Republican or conservative, and they just passed this horrendous bill called 1639. And the problem is that their state is ruled by Seattle the same way Portland rules our state. And when they have an initiative and it goes the way that the liberals are usually, or the leftists are usually voting, then there's really nothing much that the rural counties can do except maybe do what we did here in our county, and that's pass the Second Amendment ordinance. One of the things you've probably been hearing quite a bit about is all on the news. You can't get away from it, and that's the shutdown. They're calling it a natural a crisis. I mean, you know, when Trump calls the border or what's happening at the border a crisis, it's funny. They make fun of him, but they're calling this shutdown a crisis. And many of us, if we didn't know about this on the news, many of us wouldn't even know that there was a shutdown. And I don't want to make light of people who are suffering. There are a lot of people out there in the Coast Guard and who are with the national parks land and the national parks. Well, they're having problems with also keeping those going. They're having a lot of issues out there, but the problem is that the collectivists are very upset with the government shutdown, and that hardship of the government employees is something that they're going to really stress, and we have to hold strong. This is very important. These are the same people who, they talk about the hardship that these government employees who are laid off, and I think there's about 800,000 of them, the hardship that they're going through. But where were these people when most of the Northwest was shut down in the late 80s due to the spotted owl? Where was all these people when, a good portion of the Northwest timber industry was closed down? Many people lost their jobs. They lost their jobs in the mills. The mills went away. They lost all the ancillary jobs to that. You lose jobs, people being able to go to stores, being able to go out to restaurants, go out to movies. And what happened is that they sent people out here and gave them work training programs, but that didn't guarantee any jobs. And a good portion of them went on welfare and became dependents of the state, which is starting to become a problem for this country. But the shutdown itself may be an opportunity for the states to come up with their own solutions. Have the states take over the job of the Coast Guard or privatize it. The same goes for the national parks. They can use private entities to go ahead and manage those parks, or better yet, turn them over to the states and let the states start managing them. There are many different ideas that we can come up to. The airports. I mean, I don't see why we should have the government be the only ones allowed to grope us at the airports. So maybe the airports can hire private companies for the pre-flight groping and you and your children instead of having the TSA guy do it. Trump now is in a very hard position, and he's doing the right thing. In many ways, it's a very symbolic issue, but it's more than just symbolism, because this wall represents a breakdown in our immigration policy. Trump has to stand by his political promise, or he's going to risk losing his base. The president, this is the first president since Lincoln to have the fortitude to come out for this type of domestic policy and take this issue head on. You have to give him great credit for this. I mean, Ronald Reagan tried to deal with the immigration policies in the early 80s, And we saw what happened with that. He tried to make a deal with the Democrats. He gave them amnesties for a certain amount of the illegal aliens, with them guaranteeing that they would shore up a lot of our immigration problems with the law. And they reneged on the deal. So it's something that Trump has to do, or he is going to lose that base. And he is right to fight for the wall, because these policies, they encourage people to come here illegally, and they violate our laws, and they violate moral turpitude. I mean, this is something that we as a country, we're a country of laws. And if we allow people who want to come here and live in our country, because it's a privilege to live in America. American citizenship is an honor and a privilege, not some natural right, because if it were a natural right, then 95% of the world's population are having their rights violated right now, and that's because only 5% of the world's population lives in the United States. The rest of them live somewhere else. So you cannot say that their rights are being violated. No one's stopping them from being able to visit the United States. No one's stopping them from being able to apply to come here legally. But the American haters, and that's you know a lot of these people out there. You can see it in the collectivist, leftist news reports out there. The American haters, they only know what their government teachers have taught them in the government schools. And our country's education system has become an institution of indoctrination instead of an institution of education. And the bureaucrats have specifically created these hate factories as behavioral modification centers designed to twist the minds of future generations. And this is all being done so they can institute what I see as the Communist Manifesto. I know that sounds radical, but if you look at what they're talking about, they're talking openly about socialism, social justice. All of those ideologies leads to the final end, which is communism, which leads to totalitarianism. Well, they teach our children that we are an evil nation, and this self-hatred flourishes in their naively malleable minds. Then these same institutions inflate these children's egos to the point that these American-hating people believe that they are entitled to everything: food, housing, education, and health care. Then they go even further with these beliefs. They believe that not only should the government provide these privileges to the people of this country, they believe that the U.S. should provide these privileges to every other person in every other country, which is ridiculous. And that's because they hate America. Somehow they want these people who are Americans, who've gone through our educational system, gone through higher education, who are now these American haters. Which is ridiculous, because we are we are the exceptional country in the world, and that's because we were created based on individual liberty, not on social justice, not on centralization, but on individuality and the protection of our rights. Well, those are the people who support Donald Trump, the people who believe in the Constitution, the people who believe in the law. And anyone who's attacking Trump on this issue, what they're doing is they're attacking everyone who's for building the wall. But more importantly, instead of building a wall, the legislature is going to have a bigger battle, and that's changing the law. With or without a wall, if we do not change the law, this immigration problem is going to continue on for the next several decades. And one of the great problems that we're going to have is that nobody's going to have the fortitude to fight this. So that's why Trump has to win this fight for the wall on the border. And like I said, a lot of people see this as symbolism, but the symbolism has so much substance behind it, he's going to have to go forward with it. Well, that was my little wrap for the beginning of the show. We've got a special guest for you coming on, and when we get to him, we'll talk about the issues and see where we go from there. And I'm going to go to a commercial now.
Hi, Danny at Far West Tire and Auto here. With winter in your rearview mirror and summer around the corner, it's time to consider upgrading to Goodyear tires. And now couldn't be a better time. With Goodyear's Soaring into Summer Savings event from April 1st to June 30th, you can get up to $160 back on 4 select Goodyear tires. So stop by Far West Tire and Auto on Highway 101, Coos Bay. Always the right tire, always the right price.
Stop in today to the all-new one-stop gun shop, Hole in the Wall Gun Shop in Coos Bay. Your area leader in quality firearms, Hole in the Wall Gun Shop proudly features the top brands of new and used handguns, hunting rifles, black rifles, antique and collectible guns, ammo, mace, and more. Gun cleaning and repair, expert advice, and handgun safety classes for concealed carry permits are offered too. So stop into Hole in the Wall Gun Shop across from Cumion's on Highway 101 South in Coos Bay. We buy, sell, or trade.
The RV business is booming at the Boomin' Y, and Gibbs RV is looking for nice pre-owned RVs to consign or buy. Gibbs RV makes it so simple. They will come to your location, give you a fair appraisal, and help take care of all the paperwork. It doesn't get any easier than that. So let the professionals at Gibbs RV take the hassle out of selling or consigning your RV. Stop by and see them today at 1845 Ocean Boulevard in Coos Bay by the Big Boomin' Y in Empire, or check them out at gibbsrv.com.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
I really hope you folks are strapped in for this next segment of my show. We have been dealing with an issue here in Coos County. They're dealing with it all over the country, and that's the issue of smart meters. I don't know how you feel about them or what you think about them, but many of us, some people are worried about the health issues because they are putting out electronic impulses, something more than what would naturally be put out. Something else that we're very concerned about, I'm very concerned about, is that they are going to be able to collect a lot of information from this because our appliances, get this folks, our appliances are getting smarter. That's what I need, a refrigerator that's smarter than I am. But I know Alexa was the new thing that's around that you can, that one of those computer speakers where you can ask questions or have it do something for you. Well, these smart meters are going to be very much the same type of principle. They're going to be able to read your smart appliances, and your smart appliances. I can see where there's going to be an Alexa in each and every one of them. Your refrigerator is going to tell you that your milk is about expired in the future, or your dishwasher is going to tell you, hey, you need to run out the cycle here. And so that's what you're going to be doing, is you're going to be taking orders from your machines, and you're going to be able to ask them the latest sports results. So it's incredible the age that we're going into. So we got to be very careful before we allow institutions and corporations to put things on our houses or into our appliances that is going to turn us from consumers into a product. And we become a product because they market us and they merchandise us much like a product. They find out what we like to eat, what we like to use, and all these different data points, and they send that information out to third-party marketers where they can make a lot of money off of it. And I'm sure there's a lot of other things that I can't even come up with my own little small mind, what they can do with these machines. But I've got a guest on here who's been fighting the smart meter, and his name is Randal Barrett, and he's going to discuss a meeting that's coming up with our own commissioners because we're trying to get an ordinance passed, and he's going to talk about an ordinance that they have put forward as what they want to use as something to appease the people. And Randal, are you there?
I am here, Rob.
Hey, how are you doing?
Really good. How are you doing today?
I'm not doing too bad. Where are you calling us from today?
I'm in Central Point, Oregon.
Central Point, Oregon. How's the weather out there?
It's nice today. And tomorrow it looks like we're going to go up to the PUC to, I can make a statement there, and then we're going to be in Coos Bay tomorrow evening, and I hear we're going to be driving in the rain all day tomorrow.
No, that doesn't figure. But I tell you what, we need it. It's been really scarce on the rain as far as normal, typical years.
Yeah. I was listening to your comments and when they're about the data collection and with the many different ways that we're being impacted by things like those devices that listen to you all the time in your home, and they record everything you say in your home, and many people don't like those because they don't want them hearing and recording everything you're saying in your home. Well, that's what the smart meter does. The smart meter records everything you're doing when you're home, when you're not, what appliances you're using. And they did not give people informed consent. They just rolled these things out, and they used these extortion fees to persuade people to not fight them. So now you've got all these people out there in Coos Bay and all these other counties that have these smart meters put on because they didn't want to pay the extortion fee, the meter reader fee. And now they've got a computerized device in their home that they didn't want. And to get it off of there, it costs $169 to get it off. Plus, you have to pay their illegal extortion fee every month. So, yeah, it's put people in a bad position now that they're becoming educated after they got their meter because they rolled it out having the education. Or actually, by hiding the truth is more correct. And then, so now they're in a position where they're like, well, I can't afford to pay this money to get it off. So they've really got people in a tight spot.
And especially in a county like this where people, they have limited funding, we're not a rich area. There's not a lot of places to go with that. So it's a hindrance to people who want to keep their privacy. And a lot of people who don't have a lot of income, they still enjoy not having the government know everything about their life. From what I understand, Randal, and maybe you can clear this up for me, not all smart meters are the same, and I believe they're putting a basic smart meter. I don't know what model it is, but it's not up to the point where it can do what you just said, correct? Or is there an upgrade to that?
There's still, because they hide so much information, there's still some lack of information to answer that question correctly, but I can give you some specifics. So what Pacific Power is doing is they're playing a game. Rather than putting on the full-blown smart meter that has all the surveillance and control and time-of-use modules turned on, they're rolling it out with, it has the RF, it transmits that RF microwave pulse, every few seconds all day long. It is doing that, even though they deny it. But it doesn't have the module currently either installed or turned on that talks to your smart devices like you were talking about, like your refrigerator and your washing machine. They left that out. And so they can tell people, oh, no, we didn't do that. But the problem is, Rob, there's no limit as to what they can turn on or what they can put in it tomorrow. And they're hiding by saying, well, we don't have that on there. We chose not to do that. Well, there's nothing in writing saying you won't do it tomorrow. And it's already been proved in California and nationwide that they will. They absolutely, their goal is to get a full-blown surveillance computer on there. So people just need to know that the meter is upgradable to do all of these things. And the cheap one,
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh, and was I correct in my assumptions that they can actually take that information and sell it to third-party marketers, right?
Yes. What they tell you is they like to play word games. They tell people, oh, we're not going to sell your personal information. We would not connect your name or your personal information to anything. But they're not denying that they're going to sell it. They absolutely are going to sell your data. That's where the money's at. Google, everybody, that's where the money's at right now, is in data. People want to buy your data so they can sell you products based on your behavior.
No, and I see this coming, from, you watch this and it's almost like watching the evolution of Star Trek. Pretty soon we're going to have a replicator in everyone's house. So.
Yeah, pretty much. But, the Fourth Amendment is supposed to protect us from that. This is interesting that getting into this so deeply in recent months that it's become quite clear that we don't have to prove RF harm. We don't have to prove a fire danger. We don't have to prove or to argue the fact that it's spying on us. It's our absolute discretion and our right to choose what we want attached to the side of our home and whether we want it to control us. Well, they're taking that away from us. They actually have laws to prosecute you if you touch that meter and take it off your own home and say, I don't want this computer on the side of my home. So they're using laws, tampering laws, they're misusing them to control the people and say you can't touch it. And they have two-way communication with this thing. They can reprogram it. They can make it do whatever they want. They can run your bill up, and you're not allowed to touch it. It's just out of your control. Well, that's completely against the Constitution. But you and I both know they've taken our rights away. Corporate laws, the corrupt judges, they're not upholding our rights. We have to get this to the Supreme Court to uphold our right that without any need to prove anything, we have the right to say, I don't want that device on the side of my home. My contract with you was for a mechanical device that doesn't have all of these dangers and invasive issues. So that's the heart that people need to see, that they're being strong-armed And they're absolutely putting a device on your home that they control so they can surveil you and they can sell your data. They can cut your power off remotely. It's an evil scheme that we have to fight, and we are fighting it. And I've got some pretty extreme things that I'm going to do. I'm not going to pay their opt-out fee, and I'm going to probably get my power cut. But that's how strongly we feel about this.
And I'm glad someone's out there who's willing to take this risk, because it's guys like you and who are out there who decide to say enough's enough, that maybe eventually enough of, when that enough is for you, when you say that, people will see it, they'll hear it, and they'll get behind you on that. And to be quite honest with you, I see that there's a lot of people in this county, and especially here in Coos Bay, who are very upset about this and have got on board with this issue.
Yeah. And we get reports every day from people who say, they got that smart meter on my house, and now I'm feeling ill. And so there is a percentage of people that do get sick right away and would love to have that off, and they can't even afford the fees, and they start looking into putting a shield on it. And I'm like, don't put a shield on it. It's got variable power. It'll make it worse. People are looking for solutions. How can I stop the harm? But even for those that aren't being harmed, once they find out that these things can catch on fire and burn your house down, they say, no, I don't want that risk, even if it's a small percentage of a risk. The old mechanical analog meters never caught on fire. Just leave that one. Well, they're persecuting us. They're telling us we will not make analog meters available to you anymore. They're obsolete. Well, they're not. They're lying, and they're manipulating. They want a computer on there. I mentioned it earlier. Even their cheapest meter that they want to charge you $169 to take the smart meter off and put on their cheapest digital meter, it currently does not have the invasive stuff turned on. But what people don't know is that it has it built in. All they got to do is flip switches, and they can monitor everything you do. They can talk to your devices. They can communicate two-way. Even if they're not using the RF microwave, they have other means to communicate. They have already built in there the PLC, that's power line communication. They have built in there to go over your phone lines or over fiber optic. So they're playing a game. Their goal is to get a computer on the side of your house that they control, and they can do whatever they want to, and I will not have it. I will rip it off the side of my home. I will be arrested before I'll have one of those on my phone.
And the funny thing is said, and I want you to go in a little bit further about this, explain to people what can happen to you if you rip one of these things off of your house. Explain to them the laws on this.
Yeah, so they have tampering laws, and the new meters, the computerized ones, have very delicate tampering devices in them. Once you pull it off or touch or even shake it or cut things, they know immediately that you're tampering with it. And I've got actual cases around the country in North Carolina and other places where people have been prosecuted and found guilty for pulling the smart meter off of their home and putting an analog meter back on. And so this is just criminal persecution from the corporations, and our Public Utilities Commission has approved illegal extortion fees and illegal practices, and nobody's stopping them because they didn't allow public hearings, so they didn't allow any other evidence to be submitted except what Pacific Power submitted. They're absolutely corporate shills. I've been there. They're just in bed with them, and they just say whatever they have to hide the truth. And my comments tomorrow morning will be interesting to people. It's similar along the lines that we're on, but I'm going to expose them, and I guarantee you they will not focus or even discuss what I'm going to bring up because they're trying to hide it. So when you have this computerized device on the side of your home that they control and you can't touch, if you take it off, you could be prosecuted. At the least, they're going to cut your power for doing it. And I just was watching a video on a guy who just had that happen recently. He went ahead and tried it, and sure enough, they knew immediately he tampered with it. They came out with the sheriff, and they cut his power.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. On your own house. Hey, Randal, I've got to take a break here. So can you hold on through the break for us?
I definitely will.
And all of you will.
Right here, Rob.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And everyone else, we'll be right back with Randal Barrett of the NoSmartMeter.org after the break.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Think you can't manage the down payment it takes to purchase a new home? Think again. You could move into a $150,000 home with as little as $1,500 down with our 1% down payment option. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.19%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Every day people ask me, Jay, did I miss out? Have the rates gone up? The answer is no. Rates are still low, and it's a perfect time to refinance your home, especially if your mortgage rate is higher than 4.25%. If you'd like to lower your interest rate and save thousands of dollars in interest without starting over on a new 30-year loan, a Quicken Loans Yorgage is what you're looking for. With our exclusive Yorgage, you can choose a term that works best for you, anywhere from 8 to 30 years. The rate today on an 8-year Yorgage is 3.25%, APR 3.75%. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation for customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 3rd year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That's 800-QUICKEN.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Your brain is an amazing thing, but as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember, now available in stores everywhere. Statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All right, so I have insomnia, but I've never slept better. And what's changed? Just a pillow. It's had such a positive impact on my life. And of course, I'm talking about MyPillow. I fall asleep faster, I stay asleep longer, and now you can too. Just go to mypillow.com or call 800-919-6090. Use the promo code Hannity, and Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, has the special 4-pack. Now you get 40% off 2 MyPillow premiums and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Now MyPillow is made here in the USA, has a 60-day unconditional money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. Go to mypillow.com right now or call 800-919-6090, promo code Hannity, to get Mike Lindell's special 4-pack offer. You get 2 MyPillow premium pillows and 2 Go Anywhere pillows for 40% off, and that means once those pillows arrive, you start getting the kind of peaceful and restful and comfortable and deep healing and recuperative sleep that you've been craving and you certainly deserve. MyPillow.com, promo code Hannity. You will love this pillow.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
Hey, folks, we're coming back now. We're talking with Randal Barrett. He's has a website called nosmartmeter.org, and we're talking about the smart meter issue and how it impacts the people of Coos Bay and Coos County. And Mr. Barrett, we were just discussing about some of the things that this meter can and can't do, and some of the things that they're telling us and not telling us. One of the things that I know your group was doing is that you wanted to go around to some of the counties, and you came to Coos County, and you were going to talk to our commissioners about crafting an ordinance, and they have crafted an ordinance, and I was wondering if you could pretty much take it from there.
Yes, so this is really important. What we're trying to do statewide, we have Oregonians band together to go against this illegal action, is that we don't have the money, and the cases nationwide have all failed because they run out of money and they run into corrupt judges, and they need to go higher, but they don't have the money. So we came up with this plan. It was kind of started by Josephine County, who did an ordinance to protect their people, and they said no opt-out fees, and they can have any meter they want, including an old analog. That's what the ordinance said. So we saw that using Wally Hicks and the paid attorneys around the state is a great methodology for having a no-end. If you're familiar with Mike Moore, who beat the tobacco industry, he was the AG of Mississippi when he did that. So this is the way we can win this, is to use attorneys that are being paid for by the people, and there will be no running out of money. So we had Coos Bay people who called me and said, we want to do something about this. We've got activists now up in the Astoria, in the Clatsop County. We've got them in Lynn County, and we've just got activists that are starting. It's a slow process where they're getting worked up, and they're talking to their commissioners. The counties seem to be more leaning toward the people's wishes, whereas the cities tend to go more toward corporate needs. It's not an absolute rule, but it just tends to be that way. So asking the county commissioners to stand up for the people, to protect us by making an ordinance that says they cannot charge us these illegal opt-out fees, including the $169 to get that smart meter taken off, and says that you can actually request an analog meter. That's what the ordinance is supposed to do. And by having the different counties around the state doing this, we're standing up unified as Oregonians and saying, no, this is not okay, and we're going to fight you. it may end up in the end going into a lawsuit in a different direction. But the ordinance is a great tool to get the attention of Pacific Power and the OPUC and letting them know that we're on this. We are not okay with this. So the activists there who are working very hard, they're great people. I could name names. We've got Denny, Amy, Christy, and they've many others working with them. That this is just a great group of people that are truly concerned out of love for their neighbors, because maybe some of them could afford to go off-grid and go do their own thing, but instead they're protecting others by taking this action, and they need your help to be there at the meeting. It's going to be tomorrow night in Coquille at the...
it's going to be at it's at 250 Baxter Street in Coquille. And anyone who knows Coquille, it's the Owen Building. It's the large conference room in the Owen Building, and that's tomorrow, January 15th at 6 p.m., and I'll tell you what, Randal, you did a good job of being able to get them to do a work session at 6 o'clock, because it's hard to get those commissioners to stay anywhere after 5. And most of the time, they'll have those work sessions 11 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. So good job on that.
Right. Yeah, so I've got an address here that came from Amy of 225 North Adams in Coquille. You mentioned a different address. But
I'm sorry, you're right.
Building.
You're right. It is the Owen. Well, no, actually not. You're right. It's saying here that it's at 250 Baxter Street, Coquille, which would be the county courthouse. And I do know that they usually have a lot of times they will have those in the county courthouse. But this one, at the end of it, it says Owen Building Large Conference Room. So I would go to the Owen Building Large Conference Room in Coquille and go there first. So I think the county got their information messed up.
Yeah. Let people double check the address, but it absolutely is at the Owen Building, and it may be the 225 North Adams. But nevertheless, tomorrow night, people are going to be expressing their concerns. Well, the major thing that's come up right now is that when the county did the proposed ordinance, they took out everything regarding the opt-out fees not being allowed.
Right.
And that's the reason is they apparently don't want to fight with the PUC, because the PUC has the jurisdictional right to set the fees and to give permission and approve applications that the power companies and utilities present before them. That's their job. But here's the problem. The opt-out fees are illegal.
Right.
So we want the commissioners to stand up and to say, wait a minute, we're not challenging your jurisdictional right to set these things. We're saying you broke the law, and we can actually state the ordinances and we can show it. So do we have to actually end up in court with the PUC to get them to back down? Well, clearly that's going to be the case. But to send them the message that we know these opt-out fees are illegal, we can prove it, and we are not going to allow this on our people. Well, they took that completely out of the ordinance. The only thing they have in there is that you have a right to choose a different meter other than the smart meter. Well, Pacific Power already allows that. And they did add that you could put that the Pacific Power has to make available a non-computerized analog meter if you want it, but that's it. It's still the fact that the people have to pay $169 to get that smart meter off, the fact that they have to pay $36 a month, that was not dealt with in the ordinance at all, so it doesn't fix the problem. The ordinance is called choice. If you have to pay illegal fees, extortion fees, that takes away people's free choice, especially when it's an illegal charge. It's not even a justified charge.
And remember, everyone, that the companies, these electrical companies, already put in your bill the charge or the amount of money that's supposed to go to the meter readers, and you would think that it would be just the opposite, that your bill should go down instead of going up, or that you should have to pay more for something that you already are paying for in your bill, correct?
Yeah, it gets a little bit complicated there. We got misled on that in the beginning, too, because the double billing issue. Well, they already fixed it in California, and my understanding is now they fixed it in Oregon. They just took the $1.60 a month that everybody basically paid on their bill once a month, which gave them the $3.1 million to provide their meter readers and their trucks. They've removed that from their budget, and we knew that was coming. So the double billing is gone. Now what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we got 90% of the people to take these smart meters because we threatened them with fees. So the ones that are left, the few of you that did not receive the smart meters and you still have your analog meters, or you have a digital meter and we have to come out and read them. So now, because our routes are more scattered, it's going to cost more per person, and that's reasonable. You can understand that. So, okay, we're going to estimate right now it's going to cost $36 a month instead of $1.60 a month to come read your meter. That sounds reasonable until you get the kicker, and here's the one people aren't seeing, and I'm talking nationwide, Rob, and here it is. This is what I'm presenting, and I'm helping people to understand. Here's why the fees are illegal. They're hiding how much it costs to read the smart meters. They never ask the question, well, how much does it cost to read a smart meter? You have to have installation fees. You know, that $169 to take the smart meter off and put the digital meter on?
Mm-hmm.
That is a installation removal fee. Pacific Power is charging you to come out. They're not charging you for the meter. They're charging you the labor to take it off and put on a digital meter. Well, they're not charging people that fee for the smart meter. The smart meters cost money. They're putting all these smart meters on. They have to put new antennas up. They actually brag on their website, isn't it great that the smart grid is now allowing us to create new jobs and hire people? They just told you out of one side of their mouth that they were going to save money by getting rid of meter readers, and out of the other side of their mouth they're saying, isn't it great we're creating new jobs? They're totally hiding the cost of the smart grid. It actually costs more to report your power with a smart meter than it does with the old system, and they're hiding that. Now, how's that for illegal persecution of people?
And it doesn't surprise me one bit out of these public utility commissions. It's crazy what they're doing. Can you hold on after another commercial? I'm going to have a giveaway, and then we're going to do a commercial. Thanks, Randall. I appreciate that. Now, as all of you know, one of my favorite places on the earth is McDonald's, and we have a couple of McDonald's here. We have more than a couple of McDonald's here. We have one in Reedsport, we have one in Wally Mart, and we have one in North Bend, and one, my favorite one, over there in Coos Bay on 101. You know, when I was a kid, that was our favorite place to hang out. And as teenagers, it was the hangout spot for all of us in Albuquerque. We'd go over to the McDonald's, and you'd find 5,000 teenagers over there. And it was a great place to hang out because the parking lot was well lit. The bathrooms were clean, the service was good, and the food was cheap, and it was a perfect place for a bunch of teenagers who didn't have a lot of money and needed a place to go. But I've got a giveaway, and my giveaway is one free dessert of your choice, one free small McCafe beverage of your choice, and one free breakfast sandwich of your choice. And with that, you'll get a sheet of buy one, get one free for different value packs. So if you could give us a call at 541-267-2124, and you're the third caller, you could win this package. Thank you very much.
Well, I was driving across town when my car got down, started lurching and trying to die. Well, luckily there was a shop, and when it struggled to a stop, a nice fella met me right outside. I said, man, something's wrong. What the heck is going on? He said, I tell you this, I got no doubt. You just relax and don't you worry. We can fix it in a hurry because your car is what we're all about. We do it all.
Bayshore Auto and RV Repair, your one-stop shop for all your automotive and RV mechanical repairs. Stop by and see Jeff and his friendly staff on Bayshore Drive in Coos Bay.
Looking for a new or used firearm? You should get to know the friendly folks at World Pawn Exchange. Located at 1980 Sherman in downtown North Bend, World Pawn Exchange buys, sells, and trades firearms of all types. And with their extensive, ever-changing inventory, they could have just the right firearm for you. If they don't have that gun that you want in stock, they'll be more than happy to special order it for you. World Pawn Exchange in downtown North Bend, where you'll find more than you can possibly imagine.
Before you choose your adventure, make sure your 4x4 is modified and ready to reach uncharted areas. Leave your cares behind and all the work to the experts at Tom & Giggs Automotive. From diesel power to towing access, the Bay Area's top 4x4 performance headquarters will help you get ready for wheeling and down the trail. Pick up all the necessities and the I've gotta have it's on the showroom floor. Get your rig adventure ready the right way with Tom & Giggs Automotive, your 4x4 performance headquarters, one block past the Boomin' Y and Empire, and online tomandgiggs.com.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
Thank you all for calling in. We had a winner, and we'll have a giveaway in the next hour from another place that is one of my favorite places in Coos Bay, too. But we're talking with Randal Barrett, and he's from nosmartmeter.org. And we're getting ready to have a work session tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the Owen Building, the large conference room, to discuss with the commissioners about the ordinance that they basically pushed out. It was a draft, a first draft. And if anyone has ever been through these work sessions, you have to understand that when they put out the first draft, everything can be changed. So we need the people to show up to this meeting tomorrow and tell them basically this ordinance isn't doing what it's supposed to do, and we need one that does give people an opt-out choice. Randal, can you take that from there?
Yes, you're right on, Rob. That the illegal $169 fee and the illegal meter reader fee of $36 a month, those are taking away people's free choice. So they need to go to the meeting. I'll be there. The other activists there in Coos County will be there tomorrow evening. Please show up. I know it's a little bit of a drive for some in the evening, but this is so important. Here's what we need to tell the commissioners, and with love and with respect, but we need to tell them that it is the illegal fees that are taking away our free choice on this. That's why the fees, it needs to be in there the way it was written up in Josephine County, where it says no opt-out fees of any kind, and that includes the $169 to take the smart meter off of your home. And how do you lump that in? Because they're charging you to get the smart meter off that you never agreed to. You didn't want it on there. You just kind of caved, whatever, didn't do anything. They're not charging anybody to put that on, the removal of the old analog meter and then putting on the new smart meter. They're not charging any installation fees for that. But if you want the smart meter off and you want a digital meter or a analog meter put back on that doesn't have the RF, now they're going to penalize you and charge you $169 removal and installation fee. So that has to be included in the ordinance. We absolutely must tell them these fees are illegal, and that what I just described shows why it's illegal, because it's targeting. It's called illegal discrimination. You're charging and targeting a certain part of the customer base because they won't do what you want, and you're not charging other people for the same similar services. And so if it costs more to read a smart meter, we've got meters being replaced, hundreds of thousands of them after 5 years in service. You know, the cost of the smart grid is off the charts. It's been estimated that the cost of reading a smart meter is 3 to 4 times the cost of reading an analog meter. And so
that's mind-blowing.
Go ahead. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
That's just mind-blowing.
The numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go and you can look at why New Mexico rejected it. You can go look at the application Pacific Power submitted that they approved. There's no expenses for putting the smart meters on and removal and installation. It's only expenses for the people that won't do what they want. And so we need the commissioners to understand that that part of the ordinance that says no opt-out fees of any kind, including that $169, that's how you give people their free choice back, is by standing up against illegal extortion fees. And we need the OPUC to know that we're on them, that we got this figured out, and we're coming after them with every attorney, every champion, honest attorney we can find in this state. We're coming after them.
Let me ask you, have you ever had a chance to debate the spokesman or any of the representatives from the public utility?
No, this is one of the really frustrating things, Rob. When you understand the laws, they're having meetings all the time. They're not, in our opinion, they're not properly notified to the public, but they claim according to their laws that they are. They'll put it on some public site, on their site or something a week before the meeting, and that meets their requirement. But what they're not having is hearings. And you'll find this in your county, in your cities, and in these other organizations, these protective, like FDA, it applies to all of them. When they have hearings, public hearings, then the public is allowed to submit evidence, and it must be considered by law. They have absolutely refused to have hearings on this and allow public input and third-party input. New Mexico did, and that's why the information proved overwhelmingly that the cost of the smart grid was way exceeded anything that they claimed. It was all lies, that it just ended up costing the customers more and more money, plus all the dangers of the RF and the fire and the invasiveness and all that. But just based on cost alone, that it was not true what they were saying. It didn't save money. It only cost more. So they've restricted the public from having hearings. Well, unfortunately, some of the counties are doing the same thing. They're not having hearings, and so they'll get Pacific Power up there, and this may happen. We'll see what happens tomorrow night and every other place. They get Pacific Power. Coquille just had this with their city, and it happened. They put Pacific Power up there, and they get to get their spiel, but we're not allowed to debate them.
Yeah,
and we're not allowed to debate the OPUC. Tomorrow, when they're going to be talking about smart meters, they will not let us debate them. The only thing I get is at 9:30 when they start, I can do a 3-minute comment, and it does not have to be considered by law in any way. So it's very frustrating, and the only way we're going to win this is in court because they are restricting our public input.
And that's something that I've been through myself. I mean, I've been up there many times fighting on different issues, and it's very frustrating because the urban renewal issue is a good example. When they were giving the explanation why they needed urban renewal, they had the experts up there talking for the people who were in favor of it. But then when it came to our side, like you said, we only got the 3 minutes, and even though we had like 100 people there, because everyone is discussing on a different issue, the argument sounds very confusing and doesn't make much coherency or it's no consistency. Whereas if you were allowed to give a 20 or 30 minute presentation by a couple of people who knew the subject, who were a little more professional on it, you would see a different side come out, because you would have people a little more informed of the opposite opinion of what the Pacific Power is doing. I'll tell you, Randal, I'm going to reach out to Pacific Power, and I'm going to ask them if they're willing to come on this show, if they're willing to have a spokesman. I don't want anyone to hold their breath. I don't count on it, but I want to reach out to them and ask them, if I do, would you be willing to come on and talk with this gentleman?
You know what would be nice? If we actually had an honest situation. Now, the commissioners, they have control of this. They could actually set up an open debate and have us at one table and Pacific Power at the other, and that would give us a chance to expose their lies as they speak them in a polite way, wait for them to get done talking, open debate to challenge Pacific Power to that. If we could have it televised, whether it's done through the commissioners or through our own arrangements, like something you can arrange, and they're willing to do a publicized debate, we will eat them up. They are not going to agree to that because they lie so much, and it's so easy to expose their lies. So no, I would welcome that. But no, right now our hands are being tied. So we have to use whatever means we can to expose their lies. And our public comments in the beginning do that a little bit. It helps. But like you said, it's better if we actually have the chance to actually have a longer presentation along with theirs to expose their lies, or have an open debate. That would be great. But right now it's up to the people of Coos Bay, Coos County, to say individually that I'm not okay with this. We need to tell them this ordinance needs to have the no opt-out fees and no meter removal fees. It just needs to be gone, and let them stand up for the people and do it right.
Now that you brought it up, and I wanted to get to this, say that you go to that meeting, you give your best presentation, you talk to the commissioners, and they decide that they're either going to pass the bill as is or they're not going to do anything about it. Are you folks, and I talked to Amy about this, are you folks willing to take that ordinance from Josephine County and file it as an initiative here in Coos County?
That's a great idea. If the commissioners will not change their proposed ordinance, they still have other opportunities. It was changed in Josephine County at the last minute. During the first and second reading, they can still change it. So their public pressure may influence them to make it better before they finally approve it. But if they won't do it, I would say that current ordinance in its current state is totally useless. It's powerless. They've taken the power away. And that, yes, Coos County residents should step forward and submit it in another form. Again, it has to be changed to show it's for Coos County instead of Josephine County. But I think that's a great idea, Rob.
Not a problem. I got click and paste on my WordPerfect, and we can do that. So that's not a problem. I've done that before with other ordinances, and usually what happens is by the time you're getting to the point where you're doing an initiative, you've already gone through the steps that we are already going through right now. First, you go speak at the county on the item. Then you get them to do a work session or put you on the agenda. And it's a little dance that we do. And sometimes you come out winning, and sometimes you come out having to go another direction. So I hope we have enough people to show up to force the commissioners to do what we want them to do. And if you would you go ahead and tell people how they can contact you, and once again repeat the meeting in time?
So you can contact myself or Cindy. We are the only two people that are part of NoSmartMeter.org. We're not an organization. We're not a group. We are just two people that are sharing our time willingly to help people to fight this, and we are starting up activist groups all over the state. You can contact me personally at my email. You'll find it at NoSmartMeter.org. Cindy's phone number is on there. And the meeting tomorrow night in Coquille at the Owen Building is going to be at 6 p.m. So please be there early. If you don't want to speak, just be there. But if you want to speak, tell them we need those no opt-out fees and no meter exchange fees on there, because that's what's taking away our right to choice here. And so I just encourage people to to take the effort to stand up in your community and to join these wonderful people that are fighting out of love.
And if you do show up, folks, make sure and sign in at the sign-in sheet, because if you just sit back in the back and you don't make any noise and you don't say anything, it's almost like you didn't even show up. But if you put your name on the paper, and even if they ask people for input and you don't want to speak, but you want to at least let them know that you're opposed to this, you can say that I agree with the person who's speaking who is in opposition of this issue, and you don't even have to say anything other than ditto, you know? So, yeah, I encourage it, and I wish you the best of luck, Randal. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
And we'll have you back sometime, because I know we'll want an update on this.
Yes, that'll be great.
In the next coming up hour, we're going to have a chief petitioner from Douglas County on. His name is Tom McKirgan. He's a good friend of mine, and we're going to talk about what we went through in Douglas County to get the Second Amendment preservation ordinance passed. Right now in Coos County, we have the Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance that has been filed here by me, myself. I'm the chief petitioner. And if you want to sign that petition so that we can turn our county, Coos County, into a Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance county, then you can go to my website at CoosCountyWatchdog.com. Once again, that's CoosCountyWatchdog.com. And you can find the petition on the blog link. It's just look at the front of the page, and it will say the Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance petition. Click on that link, and it'll explain to you how you could download it, sign it, send it in, and get it to me. And if you hear the music, it's time now to hear from some of our media, our sponsors, and some news at the top of the hour. And I thank you for joining in.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
You know, coming out of that commercial, I was listening to the Hillsdale commercial. If you ever go to the Hillsdale website, I believe they still have a constitutional course that you can take over the internet and learn a little bit more about some of the founding document and some other documents that they have on there. Hillsdale is a great place to get a lot of those resources, and it's good to have a college that still believes in the Constitution and still teaches that value to their students. Now we're going on to another subject. Many of you know that I have been working on this, and many people have been working on this all over the state. We've been trying to turn every county into a Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance. Not only in our state, but I've been traveling to Washington this past weekend. I was on Saturday, I was in Skamania with a follow-up meeting with the people there, and we had about 150 people show up, and they were really excited. They're still pushing their commissioners, and oddly enough, we had one of the commissioners there, and he was originally he's for it, but then now he's not sure if he's for it, and so they're going to have a work session. Kind of sounds like the electric meter thing or the smart meter thing. They can never seem to make a decision. I don't understand some of these commissioners. Someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, can we create an ordinance or have you create an ordinance that would protect our Second Amendment rights that are being violated by the state?" That wouldn't even be a question for me as a commissioner. Yeah, any of your rights that are being violated. And you know why that is that commissioners only have one job. In fact, all government representatives have one job, and that job, and it should be a very easy one, is to protect your rights. They're not even there to protect you because you don't even want them protecting you. I mean, if they wanted to protect me, they'd put me in a padded room and have me eating oatmeal. And it's not something that I want, but I do want them to protect my rights. When my property is being violated by some trespasser or someone who's doing damage, I want the police there to be able to arrest them. And just the same with my right to defense. And that's what the Second Amendment is all about. It's the right for you to defend yourself. And when I say defend yourself and defend your family, I don't mean from a burglar who's breaking into your house. I mean defending yourself and your family from tyrannical government. Tyrannical government, whether it be foreign or domestic. And that is something that should be ingrained to everyone. If our government at some point in time becomes too intrusive into our lives, too abusive of our rights, I believe we have the authority to stand up, and it's written right there in the document. We have the authority to stand up to these people, to stand up to our government and say, no longer will we cooperate. We will not comply. And unfortunately, with the gun laws that are coming out of Salem, you're going to see it hit to the point where some people are going to not comply when the officers come to your house to take your guns because you've set off a red flag law or you violated some new law that they're going to be passing. But to tell you a little bit of the story about how we got the Second Amendment Preservation Ordinance passed, and this is important because a lot of you may have to eventually go through the process. I have on the phone, I have one of the chief petitioners from Douglas County who didn't have to actually become a chief petitioner because he got it passed through the board, which is a story in itself that we're going to talk about right now. And I have on the line Tom McKirgan. Tom, you there?
I certainly am, Rob. Thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Oh, not a problem. It's been a while since we've talked, and this is a really good issue. You were going to be the chief petitioner in Douglas County if the commissioners didn't do it, but we finally got the commissioners to pull through. Could you tell us a little bit about how that story progressed, where it started, and how it progressed?
Sure. We went there back, I believe it was 2016, and attempted to get the SAPO, the Second Amendment Preservation Ordinance, passed by the county commission, and they refused to do it. So, and it was a different commission at the time. So I went back there last year in March, and I presented the SAPO to the Douglas County commissioners and asked them to place it on the ballot for us. And what that did is there's three ways. You can either file an SCL 370 a petition, initiative petition through the elections office. And then you'd have to go out and collect signatures to do so. But with the county commission, they are all Second Amendment supporters, and they felt that there was a need for it. And so they went ahead and placed it on the ballot for the people to decide. And the thing is, if the county commission placed it on the ballot, the next it passed it itself, the next county commission could come right in and rescind it. So this way, it took a vote of the people to get it passed, which was a whopping 73% plus, and then that's exactly how it went. So, we saw the need for it, we did it, and I'm glad that they did it for us. It saved us from having to get all the signatures, and it shows just how important of an issue it is, and how much people really have to stand up for their rights. Otherwise, they'll just be removed from them wholeheartedly, and all of them.
We were really surprised, and because I thought many of the eastern counties would pass this law by a high percentage in the 70s that you did in Douglas County, but I was really surprised and thrilled that your county was the top percentage earner for all 10 counties.
Right, and it didn't take very much work on my behalf whatsoever. I went to the county commissioners a couple of times and reinforced it. We did the reading twice of it. There was some pushback on a couple of the issues. One was actually people were concerned whether or not the sheriff should have the ability to decide the constitutionality of any gun laws. Well, at that point, of course, yourself working with the 10th Amendment Center was able to help devise the Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance, which is even much more stronger, and it removes that section about the sheriff making that decision, which he has every legitimate legal right to do so in the first place, is granted to him by the state of Oregon, and by the people of the county is what it is. So, in other words, we're removing all of these areas that are that people find contradictory and they shouldn't be on there, and it's making it much more acceptable for people to pass. And they're finding with all these bills, there's 15 bills coming out of Salem right now, and 3 of them are pretty decent. One of them is a knockoff from what Oregon Firearms Federation had written up. It's a fire safety training for schools, and that was developed. So, we can agree with that. But if you go to look at the Measure 501, and this is the big doozy that everyone's talking about. Well, this was developed by high school kids out of Lake Oswego.
I saw that.
So now we have children making adult decisions, and then you've got adult representatives deciding to take it and run with it, regardless of Americans' Bill of Rights. These rights are not to be messed with or touched. The first all the way through the 10th Amendment. Why are they not given equal right to the Second Amendment as they would all of the others? If anyone threatened to take away the First Amendment, they'd be held to pay. So, and
the funny thing is, Tom, is that the Second Amendment is the only amendment that at the end of the amendment it says shall not be infringed. So, yeah, how more clear can you be?
Exactly, and people violating their oath left and right. If you look at Senator Frankenstein's bill out of California, the 2019 assault weapons ban, that's a doozy.
Yeah.
Now you've got Republican Senator Marco Rubio filing the red alert bill. This is a national. So you've got not just national but state. And it just surprises the heck out of me as far as how ludicrous these bills actually are. I mean, for one, they want to impose a 5-round magazine on semi-automatic weapons, and you can only buy 20 rounds per month. Now, that's 501 coming out of Lake Oswego.
Right.
And, one of Senator Wagner is the one that's pushing it, and his daughter is on this protest team out of the school, and so he promised these kids that he's going to do everything he can to accommodate their wishes. And, of course, these kids are influenced by leftist teachers and principals and what have you, and parents that are all for it. But everyone's missing the point. The point is you can't give away my right.
Right.
This is my right, and it's not negotiable.
And that's why the Founding Fathers were so... they did not like democracy, especially direct democracy, because they believed that eventually the mob would vote to give away the rights of the minority. And that's why you have these rights, because the rights of the minority has to be protected over the majority.
Exactly. And so we don't live in a democracy. You won't even find that word in the Constitution or any of our historical records, because we simply don't have it. We have a republic where individual rights are paramount, and you have to have that. Otherwise, you have mob rule, like you said.
And the funny thing is that the same kids that they are having write this safety plan, they want to take away their right to even own a gun. So they're talking to people who don't even or couldn't even own something that they're making rules over.
And they're cutting their own throats, because here you got, let's say, an 18-year-old kid that can go off to war and fight with a fully automatic weapon. Then he comes back home, and he can't even possess or purchase a semi-automatic weapon that, according to the leftists, is far less dangerous than a fully automatic weapon because of the rate of fire and the ammunition in the magazine. So, no, it's utterly ridiculous, and they should be fighting for their rights. But you see, like I said, we don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic with democratic principles, and that's it, principles. Right. So these are the people with the blind leading the blind. They don't even understand it. Now you've got the state of Oregon redefining semi-automatic weapons and assault weapons, and they're putting the AR-15, which is semi-automatic, in the same category. And it's getting so bad, they've listed, if you look at these bills on OregonFirearms.org. It's the Oregon Firearms Federation website, OregonFirearms.org. It will list all the types of rifles and calibers that are in there and the ones that they do want to ban. So I'll tell you straight out right now, if I owned any AR-15 or AK-47 type, they're not getting them. I am not going to register them. I am not going to turn them in. Like I said, my right to the Second Amendment is uncompromisable. There's no way you're going to get me to believe otherwise. I mean, I'm not a criminal. These bills don't apply to law-abiding citizens, and they're designed for the criminals who are not going to follow them in the first place.
Right, like a criminal's going to follow another law. Hey, Tom, could you hold on after the commercial? I got to go to a commercial break and talk to some of the lamestream media.
Please do.
The RV business is booming at the Boomin' Y, and Gibbs RV is looking for nice pre-owned RVs to consign or buy. Gibbs RV makes it so simple. They will come to your location, give you a fair appraisal, and help take care of all the paperwork. It doesn't get any easier than that. So let the professionals at Gibbs RV take the hassle out of selling or consigning your RV. Stop by and see them today at 1845 Ocean Boulevard in Coos Bay by the Big Boomin' Y in Empire, or check them out at gibbsrv.com.
Stop in today to the all-new one-stop gun shop, Hole-in-the-Wall Gun Shop in Coos Bay. Your area leader in quality firearms, Hole-in-the-Wall Gun Shop proudly features the top brands of new and used handguns, hunting rifles, black rifles, antique and collectible guns, ammo, mace, and more. Gun cleaning and repair, expert advice, and handgun safety classes for concealed carry permits are offered too. So stop into Hole-in-the-Wall Gun Shop across from Cumyons on Highway 101 South in Coos Bay. We buy, sell, or trade.
Hi, Danny here at Far West Tire and Auto. Do you feel like you're constantly on the go? From daily commuting, dance recitals, and weekend adventures? I'm sure your tires have never let you down, but that much time on the road can cause some wear and tear on your tires. It might be time to consider upgrading to Nokians. With the 50,000-mile warranty on select Nokians, you can hit the road in style. So stop on by Far West Tire and Auto on Highway 101 Coos Bay. Always the right tire, always the right price.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
All right, folks, if you've been listening, we're talking to Tom McKirgan. He was the chief petitioner in Douglas County who, well, he didn't actually have to become a chief petitioner, but he was willing to do it because he went to his commissioners and he asked them to put the Second Amendment Preservation Ordinance on the ballot. And most of you probably don't know the background of that story, but we had to take the commissioners, and Tom worked with one commissioner. I worked on another commissioner, and then we had our guy, Chris Brumbles, who was the chief petitioner from Columbia County, work on a third commissioner because all three of them started waffling when it came to passing the Second Amendment preservation ordinance. And so, you know, a lot of the times people don't understand that commissioners, you know, they sound really great and they act like they really care what you're doing, but their biggest concern a lot of times is more about getting reelected, and they're so worried about hurting their reputation. And sometimes, and they even get a little worried about the liability it's going to cost for their county. One of the arguments we heard from some of the commissioners was that we don't want to pass the Second Amendment preservation ordinance because at some point we may have to spend money to defend an ordinance that's protecting your rights. And of course, our normal response was to the commissioners, what's a greater liability? Having to spend a little bit of money to protect your rights, or losing your rights? To me, it was the latter, of course. So it's hard to remind the commissioners that they really have only one job, and that's to protect our rights. That's the only job that they have. All the other jobs are ancillary to that. Fixing potholes, working with the budget, whatever else they're doing, the fair board, 4-H club, the library district, whatever other decisions they're doing are secondary to their number one job, and that is to protect our rights. And I always try to tell people that's why you don't want a government ran like a business, because what is the number one job of business? Is to make a profit. So sometimes not sometimes, all the times, you definitely want a clear line about what their job is. And so you can find out where your commissioner stands when you go and present these arguments and you thought that they may have been a good constitutionalists or constitutionally adherent politically, but you find out that they're nothing but politicians. And so that's kind of what we found out in Douglas County. And in fact, probably most of the counties, I know most of the counties had that same political problem. Wouldn't you agree with that, Tom?
Absolutely. And your own Commissioner, Melissa Cribbins, is a CHL holder for carrying concealed handgun license, and she wouldn't pass it. And so she was big talk about how she is for the Second Amendment, but really when it came down to it, she wasn't going to protect our rights or even her own.
Yeah, don't you like that? Our own commissioner, Melissa Cribbins, and Melissa, if you're listening, you can call in and explain yourself. She wouldn't go any further to help protect your Second Amendment rights, but she didn't have no problem being able to carry a gun herself. And here's the funny thing is Melissa, not only did she not vote for this amendment, but we had a work session scheduled, and she snubbed us at the work session and didn't even show up.
Well, that's the way she is. And look at John Swede, who said that he felt that their job, being in the county commission, was to deal with the infrastructure, potholes, like you said, and other things, not dealing with federal gun laws. Well, he's missing the whole point of his position. You know, he swore an oath to protect our rights, and so by doing so, he didn't. I mean, I wanted him recalled, and there was a good attempt on that. But people have to understand something, that if a person is not doing their job that they're hired to do, they need to be gone, period.
And I couldn't agree with you absolutely any more than what we've said. You're in a position, because we did the Second Amendment preservation ordinance, and we're worried that maybe the courts, if it ever faces a challenge, are going to kick it out for the fact that we've conflated two branches of government by putting the sheriff's position in there. A sheriff is part of the executive branch, which enforces the law, and we have given him the authority to determine the constitutionality of the law, which is normally set for the judicial branch. Now, we've discussed this. The judicial branch makes the constitutionality determinations of law, like the Supreme Court, right? And so, but the executive branch is the one that the sheriff works for, because he's part of enforcing the law. And the thing that we utilized, and you as a former cop can go into this, is that we tried to tap into that discretionary authority that police have and that the sheriff has. I mean, right now, when you get pulled over by a cop, and I'm sure this has happened to everyone, the cop will say, well, you were speeding, but we look at your record, it's not too bad, I'm just going to give you a warning. Well, that warning right there is basically making that determination that he's not going to enforce the speeding law. And we thought, if he can do that at that point in time right there on the highway, why can't he do that when we're dealing with gun laws?
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point. In actuality, he did enforce the law by making the initial stop and giving them a warning, based on that law. But it's officer, discretion,
right,
is what it is. So yeah, there's some leniency here in there, but when you're looking at these firearms bills, it just floors me, Rob. Even they're wanting to increase the fees for a concealed handgun license, trigger locks. If someone steals your gun, and you don't know it, but you should have known it within a reasonable time, they can still cite you as a misdemeanor.
Which is basically punishing the victim for being victimized by a criminal.
And on top of that, if something happens with where that firearm is used in a crime or an injury or something else, then you're held civilly liable for 4 years for anything that happens with that firearm. You didn't even know it.
Yeah, and these are the same. This is like in New Mexico. They passed a law that said if you leave your keys in the car and your car is stolen and they go out and they cause damage, you could be held liable for that. And I thought that once again, you're blaming the victim.
Well, they've already convicted them, and not even going to court. And if you go back here and you look at this, it says you can be cited for a misdemeanor, a Class A misdemeanor, if you don't know your weapon's gone from your home, but you should have known.
Right.
Okay, so that they can convict you on, I don't think so. So there's no culpable mental state in there, and you have to have that for conviction of a crime, one or more. But with the extended background checks, they want to give the Oregon State Police delays of 30 days or more. They're putting liability on shooting ranges, dangerous conditions.
Right.
Mandatory lockup liability. All of this. One good bill is reciprocity for license holders of states that recognize Oregon CHL. So, the Washington State recognizes Oregon's, and we should recognize Washington State's.
And we nearly had a federal reciprocity law that would have been passed, but Paul Ryan sat on it in the House until the point where it was no good anymore, and that would have helped solve a lot of these problems.
Absolutely. And you can't base a law on people's feelings and take away a person's right because of feelings. We don't have a bill of feelings. We have a bill of rights. And, we're going to be tomorrow. I'm going to be in Salem. You'll be there. There's going to be the Return to Constitutional Government rally from 11 to 2 on the Salem the courthouse steps for the Capitol building. And we're going to be talking about all kinds of topics that happened, some of the bills that were passed this last election cycle. Like the one that you're familiar with is the sanctuary state status for illegal aliens, and that's what the say-so is modified, developed after.
Absolutely. And that's once again for anyone who wants to make it out tomorrow to Salem. If you show up, the rally starts at 11. It's going to go to 2. I'm one of the speakers. Tom is going to be one of the speakers, and I think they got 9 other people out there. And Tom, I hate to leave you with all this because, boy, I could talk to you for about an hour more on this subject. But I'm going to have to go to a commercial, and when we're done with that, we'll come back and talk with Tim from Tom and Gigs, and we'll be right back.
In just a fast few minutes from right now, you can have life insurance for up to $500,000 without taking a medical exam and without leaving your home. We're Fast Life, and we're going to make this easy and fast. Odds are that you don't have enough insurance, or you're paying way too much for what you got, or you don't have any, and that's not good. Listen, nobody likes to think about life insurance, but we're grown-ups now, so call and protect your family. 1-800-254-9567, or go to fastlife.life. You've got insurance? That's great, but you may be able to get more coverage and pay less than what you're paying now. And with no medical exam, you can get it right over the phone, and that's fast. Faster than a speeding bullet? No, but fast. And we also said we make it easy. So call and get quotes, then submit an application over the phone, and that's it. And that's easy. Get approved, and coverage starts instantly. And that's fast. Faster than the speed of light? No, but fast. Call 1-800-254-9567 or go to fastlife.life. Fastlife.life. It's revolutionary. It's Fast Life.
If you run your own business, when you're not on the job, you're on the road. In your van. Signs that say detour and do not enter are just plain bad for business. Well, here's a sign that's great for business. It says 0% financing and up to 2 years complimentary scheduled maintenance on Mercedes-Benz Sprinter or Metris vans. Powerful, capable, and affordable. That's Mercedes-Benz Van Power. With pioneering safety technologies and low total cost of ownership, Mercedes-Benz vans are the right choice for your business. Check out the full lineup of Mercedes-Benz vans starting at just $25,995. 0% financing and up to 2 years complimentary scheduled maintenance. That's van power for all. Mercedes-Benz Vans. Born to run.
Starting ad price refers to base model Metris worker cargo van. Excludes all options, taxes, title, registration, transportation charge, and dealer prep fee. Please see your dealer or go to mvvans.com for further details and exclusions.
Are your medical bills piling up due to cancer or another serious illness? You are not alone. Many people face this challenge. Here's how Coventry Direct can help. You can receive an immediate cash payment by selling your life insurance policy. If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be eligible to sell your policy, even a term policy. To find out if you qualify, call Coventry Direct today at 1-800-510-2800 to speak to one of our policy specialists. That's 1-800-510-2800. The cash you receive from selling your policy can be used to help pay medical bills or whatever you choose to give you financial security and peace of mind. Call Coventry Direct at 1-800-510-2800 or visit us at coventrydirect.com. Coventry Direct, giving you the cash you need when you need it most. Coventry Direct is a marketing company and will refer qualified policies to a licensed entity.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
All right. I want to thank you all for joining us today. It's a beautiful day out here in Coos Bay. And we've got one of our fine sponsors on the phone. We got Tim from Tom and Gigs. Tim, are you there?
Hey, good afternoon, sir.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. And sounds like it's nice to have some people calling in, and good to listen to your show, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And, it's exciting to have a new show where there are so many people who want to jump in and get involved because, otherwise I'd be sitting here and you'd have to listen to me for 2.5 hours. So,
yeah, boy, we couldn't take it, man.
Yeah, that'd be a punishment enough.
It would be. Well, people are getting active. They're starting to see, where they're trying to legislate our rights get away with this SB 501 thing, all that kind of good crap, 20 rounds a day and a permit to buy a gun. If you got to buy a permit to do something, that's not a right. That's a privilege.
That's a privilege. Yeah, I shouldn't ask permission.
I do with impunity. I don't have to ask. I don't have to do any of that garbage, and I'm not going to. I would never do that. Anybody that does is just giving up what so many people fought and bled and died for. So stand up for your rights. Call your congressman. Call those people like everybody's probably been talking here. But I just can't dig it. It's just infuriating to vote these people out. But anyway, you can come down here and have fun. They'll fix your truck up.
That's important.
Have a good time, and we can either do a nice dual exhaust system on your classic car, or we can do a diesel system on your diesel pickup. There's different things. Some guys just want a nice stainless tip, make it look nice. The whole truck looks nice, and they got kind of an ugly tailpipe. We can make it look sanitary, and stainless don't rust, which things do rust on the coast, so it's a good thing. And if you need Nerf bars or steps or anything like that to put on so you and the wife can get in the rig easier, or lighting down the road, you want to be able to see to go forward. We can do backup light stuff. It's pretty cool. The LED stuff really came a long ways over a period of time here just recently, and very reasonably cost and super effective. I mean, it's just awesome stuff.
When I first noticed those LED lights coming out, I lived in the desert out in New Mexico, and there was a lot of lowriders, and in one night it was so funny. I saw 3 lowriders, and they were following each other out on this desert road. I don't know where they were going, but all their cars, the lowriders had those LEDs, and one was lit up with blue, and one was lit up in purple, and one was lit up in pink, and the whole cars were booming with their boom box, but it was almost like they were floating down the road with that LED lighting effect,
Right. Oh, yeah, it's amazing. It's just, I would say in just the last year, it's probably the LED things just came tremendously along, and the prices came down, just like LED TVs and all.
Yep.
It just everything's a lot cheaper now. So
I went to Walmart, and Walmart, they had a 120-inch TV for $500, and I was like, whoa! I mean, that's really cheap. The prices have come down on a lot of this stuff, and that's because of that technology.
Yep, that's true, and it's the same way with these LEDs here. Actually, a lot of this stuff was more money a year or so ago, and some of it's gotten less money, and some of it, we got a higher-end stuff. There's also a lower-end stuff, and a lot of differences are as they're more exacting beam patterns and that sort of thing that are designed into the actual lens of the lights, not just that it's bright. Where is it directing the light? Is it real wide and flat? Is it long distance and narrow? That sort of thing. So it depends on what you want to use the light for, and try to tailor fit a light to fit your needs. So where it's an RC car, whatever. I know my time's limited here, so we, swing down for any accessories you need for your truck. Tax time's coming. Hopefully people will be getting something back. I hate that word tax, but, I guess there's some people that want to be slaves out there still. So
that's right. You think they would have gotten rid of that slavery idea. Well, Tim, I appreciate you calling in, and it's always good to talk to you and find out what's going on over at Tom and Gigs.
Yep. Just remember, no enactment of man can be considered law unless it conforms to the law of God. So if you have a God-given right to defend yourself and your family, then you can leave my guns and knives and axes and whatever else, chainsaws I have to defend myself alone.
Right.
Anyway, buddy, I appreciate you, And get a hold of us, 541-888-4660 and 135 South Shonham in Coos Bay. Give us a call.
You got it. Thank you, Tim. I want to talk about something real quick before we go to someone on the line, but I want to talk about an issue that was happening in Cave Junction. Last Saturday, Cave Junction, they woke up to discover a bunch of graffiti all over their town, or well, not all over town, and some of the businesses and some of the residents, and the graffiti said Ku Klux Klan. And so, of course, everyone in today's hypersensitive environment went crazy and said, oh my gosh, we're having the KKK is going to be marching in the streets of Cave Junction. We're being taken over by radical rights and these Aryan brothers and stuff. And here's the thing, folks. I read this story, and then I read an article that was put out by the Rural Organizing Project, which they really overblow what this whole issue is about. They talk about how this is a hate crime, and that the commissioners or the councilors there were really getting down on it, and because it was a hate crime. And come to find out, the young man who was arrested for this, the suspected person who did this, his name is Freddie Lehman. And the thing is I called the city today to find out what really happened. And I talked to the city recorder, and she explained to me that this was an angry young man who has no association with white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan. He was just an angry young man who was lashing out, and he thought that he could make the most of it by putting these type of signs out there. And of course he did, because everyone, like I said, is hypersensitive. And in the article from Rural Organizing Project, they said there was a stash of guns found and wrapped in a Gadsden flag. And none of that happened. They went to his house and they did find some guns that he had, but it wasn't nothing to do with the Ku Klux Klan or being a stash of guns. So that just shows you how the left will take a simple issue or a simple incident like this that happened at Cave Junction and blow it up to the fact that, to the point where they're trying to describe Oregon as a haven for the Ku Klux Klan. And it's just not true, folks. So you got to be careful before you listen to some of the things that are coming out of these left-leaning groups. And right now, we're going to go to the phone because I got a caller on the phone. Who's joining? Is this Bob?
This is Bob Main, yes.
Bob Main, one of our
Rob.
commissioners. How you doing, Bob?
Good. I listened to your smart meter talk, and I'm glad you put it out there for everybody so they can come tomorrow night. It'll be interesting. A little corrections, though. On the address for the Owen building, you've got the address of the planning department. So the actual address is 201 North Adams.
Okay. Actually, I was giving out the 250 Baxter Street, and that's the courthouse.
A block away, though.
Yeah, that's so. We tried to correct that.
Yeah, well, it was put out as the Owen building. Now, everything that Bobby puts out on the letterhead has got the official letterhead for the courthouse.
Right.
Not to be confused with the Owen building, which is at 201 North Adams.
And, folks, if you're not sure, it's one block from each other. I took note of was that somehow Coos County changed the Josephine County ordinance to take out the $36 fee and all that stuff. The only thing we have changed was Josephine County to Coos County, and they are a home rule county or charter county. We took out the references for the charter. Now, in their whereases, they say that, which are not part of their ordinance, that they can't be charged. But as far as the ordinance itself for Coos and Josephine, they're exactly alike. And in Section 2.09030, which is the same as Section 4, purpose of the ordinance, for both, economic hardship means a utilization, calculation, or meter reading compensation that is already covered or can be covered by the total service cost or that exceeds the reading charge specifically applied to the most commonly used type of meter in the county, which is exactly what, and they say, in Josephine County, that's the only difference. They name their own county, but that's the only difference is they name Josephine County, and we call it the county. So it is exactly the same as Josephine's, except for the name from Josephine to Coos, and that we're not a charter county, so we had to take that reference out. But Right.
As far as the ordinance goes, it is almost exactly word for word same as Josephine County's. And we did that so that when, and so far the AG has filed a lawsuit against Josephine County, we are exactly the same so it can be enjoined. If we made it different, then there would be two different lawsuits.
Right, because they're two different ordinances.
There could be potentially two different lawsuits filed.
Right.
We didn't want that. We wanted the counties to be united for that particular front.
Well, Randal Barrett, we were discussing that.
I know, Randal gets excited.
Randal does get excited, but I'm still not sure. Is the opt? So what you're saying then? There is an opt out for people who want to opt out on it. The way you just read it.
Well, what I just read is exactly what Josephine, and now we've adopted haven't adopted yet. We're going to have a hearing tomorrow night about it. And we're going to take all kinds of public input. I'm not the board chair anymore.
John is.
Sweet's the board chair, so he'll be running the meeting. But we have patterned our ordinance almost exactly, except for the reference of Josephine County, as theirs.
And I understand.
Like I said, to make sure that we have the same ordinance when AG files against us, we will be the same as Josephine.
Well, that's good to hear. But I said,
if we pass this ordinance the way it is at the moment.
And we're going to check in with Josephine County and make sure that what we're saying, that what we want it to do, that it does that. And even if it's coming from Josephine County and it's not doing what it should be doing there, we're going to probably want that same thing here, or the people who attend the meeting. So
I have a call into Wally.
Okay.
He's
a call into Wally.
Elected county council in the state, Wally Hicks.
Yes.
Yeah, and we got our copy of Josephine's from AOC, Association of Oregon Counties Legal Department. Anyway, it is one and the same, except for the name Josephine and charter type stuff. It's almost word for word.
And I like the idea that you're going to join the lawsuit, or eventually they'll probably file a lawsuit. Yeah.
But if we get sued, it would be the same as Josephine's, and therefore, if that happens, we're talking ifs, then we would join forces, I would think. But that has to be decided by the entire board, not just me.
Well, you know how Josephine is. Well, you know how Wally is. He's suing half the federal government right now at this point. So.
Yeah. So are we. We have two lawsuits in the federal government. We're part of the ONC lawsuits on the Cascade-Siskiyou monument expansion, which we don't think they can do because 50,000 of those acres were already designated by Congress to be in the ONC Act, not in the expansion. But Obama apparently just ignored that.
Now, how are they treating?
Then we're also in a lawsuit against the BLM on their resource management plan called the RMP in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And we are waiting a trial scheduling of that. We are waiting for some kind of trial schedule. We've defeated every challenge so far, but still waiting for the court to put it on the docket to be heard. We are also involved in the state lawsuit against the state of Oregon for one. Let's see, we got 12, don't quote me, I think about 12 counties in Oregon where the state appears to have followed the same thing as the BLM on non-cutting county trust lands, where we were supposed to get 75% of the proceeds.
Yeah.
In Coos County, we have 7,200 acres of those trust lands, which is about 10% of the total in Oregon. And we have gotten zero receipts the last 6 years, except for this current year. We got $54, which appears to be mushroom permits.
Ah, well, that's
we
good
used
of them.
to get hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well,
before they decided that there was going to be a total owl, et cetera, sanctuary.
Right.
So we are enjoined in that $1.4 billion lawsuit with the other counties on that aspect too.
Now,
and
where is
on that one?
Where is the movement
so
now?
So this may be the fourth one. Who knows?
All right, but where is the movement right now on the separation of the wagon road lands and the ONC lands. Are they still combining those in these lawsuits?
No, they're not. They're the Wagon Road. Let's put it this way: under the lawsuit is not under the payment for the SRS, the Secure Rural Schools Act. They arbitrarily threw the Wagon Road in with the ONC, and we got paid the same as if the Wagon Road wasn't included. And we're saying, wait a minute, we should get a higher percentage, because if you're throwing in the Wagon Road, it has a whole, 75,000 acres?
Right.
We should get that percentage. Well, we got ignored on that one, too, us and Douglas.
That's too bad on that. Hey, Bob, I appreciate you calling. We're going to have to get you on the show sometime.
Just kind of straighten stuff out, but I hope a lot of people show up and voice their opinion.
I hope so, too. Well, you have a good day. And we're going to have our second giveaway for the second hour. And if you all are familiar with the Lucky Star, and I'm sure you are, because it's one of the best restaurants in Coos Bay. It's one of the places I enjoy most. I love going over there and getting some of their sesame seed chicken and chicken fried rice. That's a regular for us. Well, if you want, you can call in and be the third caller at 541-267-2124. And you have the chance of winning the house special, which includes barbecue pork, sweet and sour pork, fried shrimp, spring roll, pork fried rice, and pork chow mein. And we'll be right back. Phone number 541-267-2124. Thank you.
Looking for a new or used firearm? You should get to know the friendly folks at World Pawn Exchange. Located at 1980 Sherman in downtown North Bend, World Pawn Exchange buys, sells, and trades firearms of all types. And with their extensive, ever-changing inventory, they could have just the right firearm for you. If they don't have that gun that you want in stock, they'll be more than happy to special order it for you. World Pawn Exchange in downtown North Bend, where you'll find more than you can possibly imagine.
Well, I was driving across town when my car got down, started lurching and trying to die. Well, luckily there was a shop, and when it struggled to a stop, a nice fella met me right outside. I said, man, something's wrong. What the heck is going on? He said, I tell you this, I got no doubt. You just relax and don't you worry. We can fix it in a hurry, because your car is what we're all about. We do it all.
Bayshore Auto and RV Repair, your one-stop shop for all your automotive and RV mechanical repairs. Stop by and see Jeff and his friendly staff on Bayshore Drive in Coos Bay.
For 20 years, the Oregon Firearms Federation has been Oregon's only no-compromise voice for gun rights. While other organizations who claim to speak for gun owners made deals to bargain away your liberty and property, often stood face-to-face with the gun grabbers in Salem to protect your rights. But there's never been a more dangerous time to be a gun owner in Oregon, and we need your help. To become part of the fight for Second Amendment rights and to sign up for free legislative alerts, please visit our website at OregonFirearms.org. That's OregonFirearms.org.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
All right. We're almost going to be wrapping up the show here pretty quick. But I'll tell you what, I want to thank my producer for coming up with a really kick-butt song for their opening. I really enjoy listening to that music. It was a great way to go with that. And it was something that when I wanted to start the show, I wanted something that had some tune that was a little bit catchy. So I'm glad he came up with a good song, because I think that was a really good idea. And I want to let anyone know, all my sponsors on my show, I know all of them personally. I go to these places and I'm a customer of most of them. And, I'm very particular on who can be my sponsors. You have to have, there's certain criteria that you have to meet. And if you want to be a sponsor on the show, you can contact me here at the station. Just leave a message at the station and let them know that you want to contact Rob Taylor, and they'll take your number and your information. Or you can send me an email at cooscountywatchdog@gmail.com. And if you want to find out more information on the stuff that we've been talking about on the show, Coos County Watchdog is a great place to go. You can find the Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance petition there. You can download a single signature sheet, and you can find out information on other things like the ordinance that Bob was just talking about. I hope Bob is right on this. And in fact, I'll be calling Wally Hicks in the next couple of days and get his story on the whole thing. Like he said, he's the only elected county attorney in the state, and I hope at some point in time Wally's going to run for attorney general, because if he does, I'm definitely going to support the man, because I like the guy who, like I said, who's suing half of the federal government for what the federal government owns the states. And you don't think that they owe us. Well, I want you to consider this fact. I went to a county in Washington State. It was Skamania County, and I was talking to the commissioner there, and 80% of the county is owned by the federal government. So you take that 80% and you imagine the 20% that's remaining after you whittle those properties away to things that aren't paying taxes or there's no tax income from those properties. That 20% is probably whittled down to about 4 or 5% of actual taxable property. And so you cannot run a county on very little funding like that. And so when the federal government takes over 80% of your county and then has the nerve to say, well, it's welfare if we give you money by taking your land, is absolutely ridiculous. That's rent as we see it. They owe us money for the ONC lands. If they don't want to pay us that money, then let the counties take over those lands. And then the county, as far as I'm concerned, they can sell it. That would be a good option. If there was a recent article out in the Oregon Catalyst talking about how much money we lose by having so much of this land held by the government and not being part of the tax base. So I hope that's something that we can figure out later on. And before I go any further, before we get to the end here, I wanted to give an update on the space races. That's right, folks. We're in a space race. Last week I announced it. China is on the dark side of the moon. And we are engaged in full-broiled space race. I call it the wacky space races. Well, SpaceX, that's the Elon Musk company, SpaceX has built itself a shiny new rocket. The assembly of the test flight version of SpaceX Mars colonizing Starship vehicle is now complete. SpaceX founder, CEO Elon Musk announced Thursday. The suborbitable hopping rocket is a sleek, shiny craft with 3 prominent fins that end in the landing pads. And it's really cool because now instead of, watching them dump it in the ocean, the rocket will come back and land wherever it took off from. It's really great technology that they're doing here. And the only way that this is really happening is because they've turned over the space race to the private market. Nothing does better. Government can never beat private market. So it's nice that we have this going on. But, to add up to that story, they have this new rocket, but then SpaceX is also laying off 10% of its workforce. Yeah, they did such a good job on creating that rocket to launch those rockets and many other projects that they got going. It cost several billions of dollars to launch one of those things. So they had to lay off 10% of their workforce, and out of 6,000 employees, 600 of them are losing their jobs. Now think about this. We've got a situation where people are so worried about all those employees who have lost their federal paycheck but are still having to work. Well, at least they got a job and they know that those paychecks are eventually going to be made up and they'll get all the back pay that's owed to them. Well, that's not going to happen for these folks at the SpaceX company. When they lose their job, that's it. You lose your job, go find something new. So if you're complaining about the government shutdown because you're one of those employees who's not working, I suggest you consider the alternative. And I want to thank you folks for joining us. You can join us next week. We'll be here again at the same time, same bat channel. If you want to find out more information, like I said, go to CoosCountyWatchdog.com, or you can go to Jim Bice's website at KOOSNews, KOOSNEWS.com. That's KOOSNews.com. And I want to thank you folks for joining us. And until next week, carry on, Coos County, carry on.